Hi there, I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Guildie of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas, and I'd like to welcome you to The Raven's Call. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, just kind of whatever strikes my fancy at the time, whatever sets my mind on fire. And this is a big UPG warning here at the beginning. This is how I see the world. This is how I see heathenry today based on my own research, my own insights, and my own experiences. So keep that in mind as we go through this. My views do not reflect the views of necessarily greater heathenry in general. You may find there are a lot of people that do agree with me, but my views are my views. Their views are theirs. Not my hall, not my call kind of thing. Similarly, I am not what's called a recon heathen, not a hardcore recon heathen, or what some will refer to as a historical heathen. I'm a modern heathen. And that's, you'll get a feel for that as we go through the channel. Doesn't mean that I don't use research. I do use research to do what I do. My focus is just in a different place. Our whys are different, but our hows are very similar. So anyway, if you guys like what you see, please give a thumbs up down below, subscribe to the channel, ding the bell. This will keep you up to date on what I'm doing, but it'll also bring other things into your feed, other heathen-related videos, so you guys get to get more experience that way, okay? Now, if you want to contact me on anything, all my contact information is down below, email, Saraha, all of that fun stuff. Please, most specifically, check out the Facebook group, Word_Weaver, or Word-Weaver Productions, that's what it is. And the link is down in the comments. Check out the Facebook group, join in with it. That's where most of the conversation does happen. Sorry, I'm tripping up on my words there. I will warn you guys, don't send me direct friend requests unless you actually know me or we have interacted. And I've got a stack of like 20 or 30 that I haven't approved because my friend list would explode if I put everybody on that was of the, off the YouTube channel and not people I actually know. So that's what the Word-Weaver Productions group page is for us to interact there and for me to share info and things like that. There's some things that I like to share on my personal page that I don't necessarily want to blast out to everybody. Not everybody needs to see, the weekend pictures from my tribe's get-together kind of thing. It's, I do separate those worlds a little bit. So anyway, check it out there. If you've sent me a Facebook friend request and I haven't replied to it, that's why. Okay, guys? I just kind of want you to understand it's nothing personal. I just try to keep my personal page and the YouTube page separate. So check out Word-Weaver Productions. Okay? So, again, if you're going to email me, I take a while to get back to emails simply because of how busy and demanding my job is right now. It's one of those things. I will get back to you. Sometimes it takes me a little bit, but I will. I can take a week or two sometimes, depending on just how crazy things are up here. But also depends on how complicated the question you ask is. If there's a lot of research and stuff that I need to do, or I'm gonna have to go back and dig up sources, that's gonna take me a while because I have my own research that I'm doing, and I don't necessarily have the time to go back and do somebody else's research for them. So I will help where I can. But it might take me longer, especially if you're asking for sources on something, because I may not know that just off the top of my head. I may have to go dig through stacks, and I don't always have time for that. So, again, nothing personal, just give me time. Okay? So, now without any further ado, let's jump on to today's subject, which is going to be oaths in heathenry. Now, this is something that I've touched on before in different videos as kind of subsections and this, that, and the other. I think I've talked about it heavily in Sumble and then some of my social contract kind of videos, where we're talking about the cultural elements as well as some of the religious elements. I want to take a good granular look at oaths real quick. Okay? Now, oathing is something that is extremely important when it comes to a heathen because a man's word is his bond. A person's word means everything. It decides whether or not that person can be trusted, and there's a lot that goes on with an oath. Okay? An oath, by its definition, is a promise by one individual to another. It's a formalization of a social contract between the two individuals. Okay, and I point out the contract and the formalization part specifically. An actual oath sworn between two individuals is a ritual in and of itself. It's ritualized and formalized into a way of doing things. And there's reasons for that. Now, like I said, an oath is essentially a promise. You promise to do something. And within heathenry, this is an extremely touchy subject in some respects, and also very, very heavy, very weighty. The reason for that is because oaths, in and of themselves, create bonds in weird. We're going to come back and do another video here before long on kind of a primer on weird for some of those individuals, the newbies that don't quite understand all of that. I'm going to try to anyway, we'll see. So anyway, an oath creates an anchor point in weird. If you've watched my gravity wells and weird video and see my points there, what you will get from this is that we create a gravity spot. We create a heavy spot in weird which things gravitate around. Now, we mark oaths through ritual. Arch-heathens frequently swore official oaths and things like that over what is called an oath ring. Now, an oath ring varied in size and shape. Typically, it was something of either a silver or iron ring. Most of the time, I see it as a silver ring. That's usually a few inches across, and there's some actual specific measurements in some of the sagas for like specifically how they make their oath ring. What it boils down to when they say an oath ring is not a ring like this, but more like a ring like an arm ring. You will see some of the graphics and things, some of the images that have survived down as representations of ritual, wherein they're holding aloft this ring, but it does this bit, kind of like a torque, which I don't know if you're familiar with the kind of the it's out of the UK, Ireland, Scotland kind of thing, which is a braided piece of metal that comes around and then makes kind of an omega symbol kind of look, but a little fished out. And the idea with that is that torque is very much the same thing as an oath ring. It's an arm ring, it's a neck ring, it's all of these things. And so in the olden days, these rings were how people carried their wealth. Because if you've got 10 ounces of silver, you turn that into 10 ounces of arm rings, and then you can carry it around. And when you need to pay for something, you can just hack off a piece of it and hand it to somebody, or you can give them the entire ring as payment. It varied and usually was higher up in the socioeconomic echelons, as it were. So the use of this ring, a specific ring that is set aside ritually for this purpose, establishes a token, an item by which the oath is sworn, and that is seen as the focal point of weird surrounding the oath. And by both swearing upon this thing, that is accepted between the two to be sacred and to be inviolate, and that we do not violate anything sworn upon this. That is our word, that is our bond. And if this is where we swear the holiest of oaths, and you betray this oath, then I know you cannot be trusted and you do not value what I value. So, we utilize the ring. And in modern days, the ring will take on several different kind of form factors. It depends. My tribe uses a solid iron ring that we had made for us. It's got braided leather around to create a handle, so it is a truly unbroken ring. It's smooth. It's perfect circle. I mean, it's beautifully done. I have seen individuals that use arm rings, torques, things like that, because that is ultimately more historically accurate than, say, the one that we use. But the symbolism and the metaphysical, kind of the science of the metaphysics at play, they serve the same purpose. And as long as you're creating that focal point, that anchor, that totem, as it were, you are establishing that focal point in weird, and you are tying weird together over that central knot and creating a knot in the web of weird that ties yours and someone else's together. Part of the reason that oaths were so important is because that obligation, that sense of it's obligation, this established expectation, reciprocation of expectation between one another, that meshes a great deal of weird. There's a need for the other individual to upkeep their end. And when this oath is made and formalized and creates this bond in Weird, either the positive outcome of keeping that bond cements this relationship between the two, or the failing to keep it sunders that relationship and damages both Weird and the Frith in between the two. So, oaths create these focal points around which we, function and around which we build our Weird. It's not just between the two individuals that swear the oaths either. It is all of the individuals that also bear witness to the oaths. Now, in the form of symbol that my tribe uses, which I realize is not exactly a historical symbol, but it is the one that we choose to use in the modern day, the 3-round symbol. If you do any research, you'll find that an actual historical symbol is in ways quite a bit different than the formalized 3-round symbol that we like to use here in our neck of the woods. But we like it. It works for us. And anyway, not your hall, not your call. Anyway, the gist is that the 3rd round is toasts, oaths, and boasts, which is where, aside from the toasts and the boasts thing, which I've already done a video on, where we formalize oaths and we swear them over the well. Now, in symbol, the well, the horn itself becomes the well, Urtabrunner, Urt's well, wherein we put our deeds and actions into the well of Weird, into Urt's well, where it will be recorded into our Orlog and will inform not only our lives for generations to come, but those tied to our Weird chains as well. It gives extra weight to anything that we put into the well. It makes it stronger. It's like putting it in bold. Like if the Norns, if the Filia is taking your story to the Norns, and the Norns are writing everything down by putting it into the well, things that we do over the horn and symbol are bolded and italicized. That's how I see that. It's like, yes, a special note. We're putting this here so that it stands out in our Weird and in our history. So it's kind of a different way of looking at that. But anyway, oathing does that as well. And when you do an oath in symbol, big, bold, and italicized, for the Norns to see, for our ancestors to look on, and everyone that bears witness to it, because all of our Weird is tied to that horn, because we're all putting Weird in and mixing Weird together, everybody that bears witness to that oath is tied up in the luck of that oath then. Okay? So, witnesses are extremely important. Part of the reason that witnesses are important is because they formalize an oath by being more than just, if Sven and Oli are swearing an oath to each other, and Oli breaks the oath, and Sven is sitting here going, "You broke your oath to me, and I demand Shyld." Which we'll get to Shyld in a minute. It's just his word versus his, and there's no way from a societal level to say that, yes, this oath was sworn and it needs to be upheld. But if you swear it in front of everybody in the group, the more people that are there, the more formalized this oath becomes, because everybody bears witness. So suddenly your reputation, your gefrain is on the line. Your ties of whether or not these people trust you is on the line. So the more witnesses to an oath, the more Weird is tied up in that oath, and the more social obligation is tied to that oath. So the heavier it is. So swearing an oath between two individuals is fine. Swearing an oath between two individuals with an audience, with witnesses, is even more important. And doing so over the well ensemble, height of official. Okay? So that's kind of the mechanics of, or the reasons behind oathing being so important, is the ties of Weird. Ties Sven and Oli together. It ties their tribe there as witnesses together, and it ties their guests there together, because they're all in ritual together. This oath is sworn. All of their Weird is tied together in this nice, neat little bow. The italicized print is put down, and everybody's luck is now tied to this oath. If Oli fails to upkeep his oath and does not pay Shyld and becomes an oath breaker, that damages the luck of everyone whose Weird is tied to that oath. So, the way that works is when oaths are upkept, when you complete an oath, you strengthen the bonds there. You strengthen the luck. You strengthen the relationship with others, and you build on it. It's a positive thing. If you fail to upkeep that, then it damages the weird and luck of everyone that's involved, which is why oaths are so extremely important. We have to protect our luck. We have to protect our weird. And we do not want to be known as oath breakers, because then you will have no one come to your aid or believe your word when it needs to be believed. So it's extremely important that we honor our word and our deeds. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the mechanics of an oath and what make it up. And then we're going to look at kind of a modern version of the oath, because there's some scale here that needs to be kept in mind, all right? So the functionality of an oath is that there is a promise made, an arrangement made between two individuals. So an oath requires at least two people: the person who is making the promise and the person who is accepting the promise. Bare minimum to make an oath. To make a ritualized, actually kind of what would be seen in the olden days as legal oath, you need the oather, the person to whom they are oathing, and witnesses. How many witnesses, depending on dates, as far as the time period goes, region, things like that. Icelandic law gives some fairly specifics. I think mainland law over in Norway and Sweden gave some specifics, but I don't remember those off the top of my head, and it's not really that important. It's kind of like needing a panel of 12 jurors for a trial here in the U.S. There's a number meant to tie everything together and to be a fair number. So you need at least a witness. The more witnesses, the better. And the two individuals tying the oath, okay? Now, when you talk about the oath itself is a promise and an arrangement, okay? We've talked about the number of people that are involved in it. The actual mechanics of what is being oathed, is promised, is that the person making the oath will or will not perform an action, and they are beholden to this person to whom they are making the oath to either make or not make the action that they've said that they were going to take or not take. It's an active force. It's not something that, can let's take a look at some examples of oaths that might have been made. A person in the modern day may oath that they're going to build an altar for the tribe before the next coming Yule. That's an active, actable oath. It's something that they actively can do. Someone can swear that, like in the olden days, we'll look at Harold Hairfair, okay? Fair hair, fine hair, however you want to say his name. It's Harald Haarfagr. And the man was known for uniting Norway under singular rule, which basically means he went in and subjugated Norway as he conquered the other regional tribal kings under one central government king. And he made the oath before his people. So he made the oath to his people in front of his men as witnesses that he would not cut his hair nor comb his hair until he conquered all of Norway under singular rule. Now, when he did finally unite Norway under singular rule, he cleaned and cut his hair, and that's how he earned his deed name, Harold Fairhair, or Haarfagr. Now, the oathing process there is that he was the one making the oath, his people were the ones receiving the oath, sort of, and the rest of his people bore witness. But because he was such a large figure, a grand figure, and the oath was so grandiose in nature, it didn't necessarily need a specific target for the reception of it. It was really big scale. And so all he had to do was complete it, fulfill it, and not cut his hair, not comb his hair, not wash his hair, anything like that, until he had, conquered all of Norway. And then when he did, he earned the right to clean his hair, and then he comes out looking all prettified, and he gets the deed name Harold Finehair, Haarfagr, for having done so. So, In so doing, he built his reputation, he built his luck, his strength, because he did something. He said he was going to do something, and he did it. The direct relation as that goes to luck and Geffrain is that because he showed that he was a man of his word, he demonstrated that in action, the people to whom he made oaths would trust him. The people that interacted with him knew that he was a man of his word and would do things. Again, we're back to we are our deeds, which we have come upon many a time throughout the history of the channel. And that's the essence of an oath, is it's worthing. Again, go back to worthing if you want to see some more on that. You have established your worth as a good man that can be trusted, a good woman, however. And in essence, it's again that action thing, actable. You're not going to make an oath that something will or won't happen that you don't have any control over. That would be an inappropriate oath. You know, you can't make an oath that the star in the sky that's 3 degrees to the left and whatever is going to go out before next year. You can't oath that because you don't have any control over that. That's not an actionable oath. You need something that actually is actionable. So you also can't necessarily oath that another person is going to do something unless what you are indicating is that you have control over that individual doing that thing. At which point the actionable oath that you're making is that you will force that individual to do the thing before this time period is done. Now usually there is a time period that is associated with an oath, or at least a bookend set of circumstances wherein an oath is considered completed or incompleted. Okay, so like with Harold Fairhair, his oath was considered completed when Norway was under his singular rule. So it had a bookend. The beginning bookend is the oath itself. The ending bookend is the completion of the oath or the completion of the time period set out as the parameters of the oath. An oath is an agreement between two individuals. So it is a set of parameters by which behaviors shall be guided and is given a time frame typically. Now, some are open-ended, never-ending oaths. But in that instance, the bookend element of things is that it still begins with the oath and goes until either the oath is broken or the individuals who have made the oaths have died, unless they set in the essence of the oath that it continues on and is passed on. However, you're dipping into the free will of other individuals at that point, and that is outside the realm of your purview. So you can't necessarily guarantee that your grandkids are going to upkeep this oath, this familial oath, because doing so means that you're expecting them to honor your oath, and if they don't, because you don't have any kind of control over them, then it starts a feudal kind of a feuding situation that can lead to significant issues, which is why generational oaths tend to be redone with each new generation coming in. Each new generation that comes into, say, an organization or that is taking on the mantle of stewardship of something, typically there's an oath of office that is taken or an oath of acceptance of responsibility. And that's because even though it's being passed down, it still is an active oath on their part to take up the torch in this relay and to now be responsible for this run. The formalization of a promise is important. I'm going to come back to that here in a little bit too. All right. So we've got the mechanics of the oath that's being made, why the oath is kind of the way it is, and then it is an actionable oath. You're not going to oath something that's passive or that you don't have any kind of control over. It's got to be something that's under your purview of control and is actionable, therefore has the bookending ability of either a time frame or the completion of a task. Okay? Somebody may swear that they will never touch a sword again for the rest of their lives, and all they have is the bookend element time frame of the oath to end of life, and the criteria for completion is not touching the sword. Somebody may swear that they'll write 3 books before the end of a 10-year period. Bookended time period, they have a set criteria by which the oath is considered completed or failed. And so these make for good, strong oaths. You can just step up and say, hey, I promise that I'm going to conquer the moon. You can oath that, but you're guaranteed to fail it. And anybody who accepted that oath from you is an idiot. So I know that's blunt, but that's kind of how that goes. The gist is, do not enter into an oath that is not actionable with a decent time frame that can be completed, or is, and it's a little different with prohibitive oaths. Okay, those are oaths like for if someone owes they're going to do a thing. The oaths for I'm not going to do a thing are typically open-ended and usually are lifelong oaths. For the most part of what I've seen, the whole we oath we will never speak of what occurred here is a formalization of this situation needs never be spoken of again, and to speak of it to anyone outside of this arrangement is now a violation of this oath, and Gefrain is damaged, trust is damaged, frith is damaged, all by breaking this confidence. These confidences are different than necessarily the formalized, ritualized oaths that I've talked about before. We're going to come back to that. But someone may, in the essence of a ritual, swear a forbearance of something, such as for the rest of their lives they'll never eat pork again. There are religions that do that, so why not? We'll explore that. It's bookended time-wise because it is beginning at the oath to the end of life. The actionable offense would be if they actually took the action of eating pork. So there's an action involved, and it is either to do a thing, such as build an altar, or to not do a thing, like not eat pork. It's an actionable deal either way. Okay. Now we're going to look at another aspect of the formalization of oathing. Okay, and then we'll come back to some other examples. And this is going to be a longer video. The mechanics of oathing is that, of course, you make the promise. You do so from the oathing individual to the one receiving the oath in front of the witnesses, and then you have the person makes the oath. It is not official until the other person accepts the oath in front of the witnesses. Okay, so that's a two-part stage here. Just because you stand up and say, "I promise you, I'll never do this again," it's not a formalized oath unless they say, "I accept your oath," because they also get to set some parameters. Like, all right, I will accept your oath on these conditions. And that is when Shyld comes into play, okay? I'll see if I can flag myself to put Shyld down here in the bottom. But Shyld is basically the recompense paid for violation of an oath, okay? That's a way dumbed down basic kind of how it's used today. There's some nuances to the word linguistically I'm not going to go into here, but for the essence of what we're getting in here, Shyld is the what you will pay if you fail this oath. Similar to wergeld in the old and arch heathen days, which wergeld is the price one would pay, the man price, which is the amount due for slaying an individual, dependent on his rank and status within the society to which he belonged. It's paying damages, is what it is. Reparations for the loss of productivity that the family would have endured as a result of the man's death. Okay? Oathing is the same kind of thing. Because we are putting our weird and our luck on the line, if you fail to upkeep this oath, you need a parachute. And this is the parachute that I'm going to give you. Okay? So, there's a tradition amongst some tribes around the Yuletide to make oaths because it helps to strengthen the bonds of everybody within the tribe. A lot of people, I mean, this survives today in like the New Year's resolution. You know, for the coming year, I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to, exercise more. Exercise more is a horrible oath to make for a New Year's resolution because it's not measurable, it's not actionable. Okay. To say that you're going to lose 50 pounds, that is measurable, that's actionable, and it's within the realm of reality. To say that I'm going to lose, 250 pounds when I don't weigh that is an unrealistic, unactionable goal. Okay. Now, like I said, to say to lose weight is a horrible kind of oath to make, all right? Because it's not easily measured, it's not actionable, all that kind of stuff. It's too open-ended, not specific enough. A good oath is something that is easily measured and an attainable goal. Like, for instance, my tribe is one of those where in the past we have explored with this, we have played with this in building luck, in building the overall store of luck for the tribe. We tie the luck of the tribe together in symbol at usually Mother's Night, and we make an oath, or someone within the tribe makes an oath that they will try to complete before the end of the coming year. So like for me, back in the day, one of the things that I would do is that I would write three articles throughout the year, one of which was more academic in nature. I think I've told you guys on the channel before, back during, I think, the Yuletide video about some of this. And I did that. The Shyld that I set, because this was a minor kind of oath, it wasn't a major thing, the Shyld that I set, of course, was that if I failed to complete these essays before Mother's Night of the following year, I would be dish monkey for the tribe during the Yule festivities, and I would have to do all of the dishes, and the ladies would get a break from it. And my tribe sister at the time, sorry, I had to clear something off the screen. My tribe sister at the time was really, really hoping I was not going to make my deadline. But I made it, and it was all right. But had I not, in order to save face, in order to protect the luck and weird of the tribe, if I failed to uphold the oath, I could still pay the Shyld without taking any dishonor. Because we agreed in the beginning, all right, we'll take this oath, but in case you can't complete it, this is the Shyld you got to pay, and it mitigates some of that damage. And that's what it is, it's damage control, it's damage mitigation. So you end up paying the Shyld and rolling with it then, and keep on going, just do something else to build the luck, since that obviously failed. But there's no dishonor in that necessarily. I mean, you lose a little bit of face in not having completed the task and having made an oath that you couldn't upkeep, but you, like I said, you mitigate some of that damage by doing your part and, willingly upholding the Shyld on the other side in order to repay that. So it's kind of like when you're going through and you ding somebody's car with your car door, but you do the right thing and you contact these people and be like, look, I will pay for the reparations, for the damages. Same kind of thing, Yes, I did this thing, I damaged our weird, I'm going to go through and do the right thing and do some repairs on it. That's Shyld, okay? Now, a formalized oath includes the Shyld aspect. It is agreed upon, and it is proportional to the oath being made. Dish monkey for not completing essays, that's appropriate. Dish monkey for failing to build a hoff, that's not proportional, okay? If I was to oath that I'm going to build a hoff for the entire tribe before the following year, and I do not set a commensurate Shyld, then I do a lot of damage to the weird, okay? Because that's a big oath, that's a big thing. The riskier and bigger the oath, the more that is at play, okay? Because the completion of this action, tying everybody together around the completion of this action, brings a great deal of respect, a great deal of positive luck in its completion. And failing to do so can be a big setback, and therefore you need assurances there that everyone's luck and weird will be protected on the other side. It's a very business kind of, it's very much like a business contract, because it is a social contract. The oath is the formalization of the social contract in a lot of ways. So anyway, I'm going to look a little bit now on some specifics in the modern day, and then we'll wrap it up because I know this video is running way long. But there's a difference between an oath and what's called a folk promise. Okay. Now, a folk promise is just kind of a promise made between individuals. It's minor, it's lesser, and it doesn't necessarily require Shyld because it's something that the frith between the two individuals can absorb if it doesn't happen. If I promise somebody I'm going to bring home cat food on my way home, but I forget because I've had a long day and my mind is elsewhere and I got 20 different things on my mind, and then I get home and I don't have the cat food, it's not the end of the world. They understand. It's still not great, and the more you do that, the more you damage the frith between individuals, but frith will absorb a great deal. It is not impervious, but it is very enduring. It is very strong, and it will absorb a great number of these minor slights, and even some major ones, and you'll still be able to come out the other side of it okay. A lot of people fear the breakdown of frith a little too much and avoid some conflicts that frith can absorb. They don't realize just how strong frith can be. And if it's not, then you don't have the frith that you thought you had with the individual in the first place. That's really what people begin to figure out, is that they think they have frith with someone, only they realize they don't. And it can be kind of scary all of a sudden, So, the confidences that I spoke about before are more of the folk promise kind of thing, but the severity of the whatever it is you will not speak of, it follows a lot of the same things. The understood kind of mechanic here is that you're making the promise not to speak of the thing, and in the end, what you end up doing is if either one of you violates that promise, then you damage the gefrain and the trust and the frith and whatever else may go along based on the thing that you're not supposed to speak of. It gets complicated and it's just kind of broad strokes. But Shyld is not necessarily set for that, because the understanding is that violation of this promise costs you. The cost that you have is the trust of the other individual and whatever else was at stake to begin with. So it's if you don't uphold your end of this promise, then we both have to live with the consequences of it, and there's not really a Shyld you can set that will compensate for that. Plus, it's not a formalization of an oath. Promising to return a video, promising to return a book, things like that, those are on the folk promise side of things as opposed to a formalized oath. Formalizing an oath makes it more serious, sets it in weird, and because of the witness element, makes that focal point in weird. Promising somebody that you'll swing by and pick them up a hot dog on the way home from work does not create the anchor point in weird that ritualizing an oath does. And so the ritualized oath becomes more binding than the folk promise element of things. Not to say that folk promises are therefore not worthy. They are. Actually, they are very, very important, because that shows your day-to-day worth, not just your big occasion worth. Okay? It just takes more of those to establish a baseline pattern than this. It's easy to say, because of the weight of this, that if somebody steps up and does a highly ritualized oath and they uphold that, well, then we know we can trust them in that setting on the grand scale. We know we can handle him there. We can trust him there. He may be too flighty for us to trust him with minor stuff on the side, though. So you're getting two different spectrums on this. I'm bad about being forgetful, out of sight, out of mind on some things, because I've got so much going on. The cat food thing, yeah, that's me. I'll say, yeah, I'm going to pick it up when I go home, and then I'll forget, and then when I get there. So then my people are like, we can't really trust you to remember to do this, so I need you to set a reminder in your phone. Okay, I get it. That's fair. I understand. But they know that if I make an oath and ritual, then I'm going to upkeep that, because it's extremely important, So both are important, but in different ways and for different reasons. It's important to kind of keep that in mind. And then it's a spectrum. But once you actually formalize the oath, it steps into kind of a different set of shoes and a different formality and ritualization. So anyway, I've rambled on for a while, but we've covered the mechanics of the oath, the importance of the oath, Shyld, and kind of some modernization of the oathing process. Modern examples of oaths are things like I said, writing the essays, completing a hof, promising to, complete community service once a month by going through and picking up roadside trash. That's actionable, that's doable, and that brings a great deal of, recognition, especially when you plaster the tribe name up on a board on the side of the road, cool. Brings good vibes to the tribe, builds the name of the tribe. The idea is whatever you oath to do needs to build your family name, your tribal name, your name, build the reputation. Show people your worth. That's the point behind an oath. Similarly, if you are beholden to somebody for something and you swear an oath, you understand, because of all of that, the importance of upholding that oath. Okay, so anyway, this is a topic we can jump into. Jump into the Facebook group and let's discuss it some. Join in the conversation. We'll talk a little bit about oaths and why they're so important, confidences and how they differ from a formalized oath versus a folk promise. Because I do count confidences separate from formalized oath and from folk promise. So juggling. So it's a weird continuum, but I think I've made my point. Hopefully this hasn't been too rambly, and we'll see. So all contact information is below. I'm not going to rehash that, but thank you guys. See you next week. Hail, and may your ancestors smile at you. All right, we're going to try and get this figured out. Oaths in 3, 2, well, okay. This is on oaths. This is all the pre-work stuff. Pre-show primp and preen and all of that. So, it's been crazy up at work lately. See if I can actually put the video down. I'll try to anyway. Coffee. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay. And, Oaths and Heathenry. In 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump on to today's subject. We're going to pause. I'm going to pause there for a second so that I can... Still getting warmed up. Sinuses have been going crazy. Whew. Some stout coffee. Temper that with just a little bit of water. That way I don't dehydrate. And it's rainy season in East Texas, and the mold and pollen do stupid things when we get a lot of rain. So, all right, we're going to go back and actually start the topic itself. In 3, 2, 1, let's jam. The promise itself is that the person making the oath... Crap. Pause. Yeah, all right. Yay, fun. Okay, well, while we're paused, I'm going to get some coffee. It's ridiculous trying to film at work and then, looking for breaks and stuff. Okay. Pardon that sound. Horrible. All right. Snap, crackle, pop. And we are back in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. So you set realistic goals and you meet those. Pause. Damn it. I swear to the gods. UPG warning up at the beginning. This is a show that is predominantly how I see heathenry. It's all about my insights and my view of heathenry in the modern world. But there seems to be enough of you guys that like it that I keep doing it. So that's where we are on that. Let's grab it. Hold on. Let's read the intro there. While Alexa, my hair is back. Not cascading down the side. She does not like that. Okay. Now, I can go away and redo the intro in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam.